Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful turnout. I think it's great that in the interest of transparency that we have public forums where people can interact with the candidates, ask questions of them, and again, it's a county like this, personal relationships are very important, so we can interact one with each other. So I'm going to begin tonight in the same way that we begin the executive committee's meetings of the Republican Party in the county, and we always do that by pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States. And we have that behind me here, so if you would join me in that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Also, too, we traditionally begin with an invocation, and I would like to ask Dr. Jerry Sells if he'd be so gracious as to do that. And we go beyond party lines as well, too. Let's remember the family of longtime Marshall County Circuit Clerk Carla Marshall. Carla passed away yesterday at the age of 62. So let's put our differences aside and let's remember that family just as well, too. Dr. Sells.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the things you do for us. Be with us as we strive to unite and become the people you would have us be. We especially pray for those that have lost loved ones, those that are mourning, those that are overseas serving our country, trying to protect us in our freedom. Father, even though I didn't vote for our president, we pray for him too. May things go well and may he make decisions that would help our country and keep us strong. Be with those of our number tonight, especially be with each member here, Father, that bless them and bless our candidates. And we know it's difficult to be a candidate and put yourself out there, and it's easy to criticize, but we want to unite and come together, Father. Help us, save us, and bless us, especially those of us who have children and grandchildren. Watch over and bless them, and those who have great-grandchildren. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Our format tonight will be as follows. We're going to do our offices alphabetically, start with coroner, then go to jailer, and then county judge executive. And I don't think you've got too many opponents or competition at this point in time, but we'll let Matt make a statement as well too. But how we want to begin is as follows. We want to allow each candidate up to 10 minutes to introduce themselves, a little bit about their platform, their experience, why are they seeking the office, and what they hope to bring to that. And after that, we have, many of you have been very gracious and submitted questions. I have a series of questions for each office, and each candidate will be given 3 minutes to respond to the questions. And we're going to do this in a rotating form. I'm going to flip a coin here in a minute and see who goes first. But the winner of the toss will go first, and the other individual will take the next question first too. So we will alternate that in the interest of fairness. No one has seen these questions. They were submitted to us electronically over the past few days, and I got a photo of them today, incidentally. So I've been sorting through them and trying to avoid duplication. But we want again to make this as fair as possible, we possibly can. And again, the interest of being transparent and that Republicans do care about this county, do care about our nation, and that our viewpoint be presented in a fair and I think articulate manner. So let's begin with the office of coroner. And I'm a proud resident of Calvert City, and I couldn't find my Eisenhower dollar. That's what I was going to use tonight, but it was in a drawer somewhere. I couldn't lay hands on it. But Calvert City had its sesquicentennial this past summer, and this beautiful coin was issued as part of that. So we're going to say heads is the one with the Calvert City on it, and tails is the one with the 15 on the back of it that way. So I think our first office will be for the office of coroner, and our candidates are Mr. Neil Mcwaters and Mr. Kenny Pratt. We're glad both of them have made it this evening. So, Neil, I think you're first on the ballot, so I'm going to let you do this. You call it while it's in the air, heads or tails.
Tails.
Matt?
Sailboats. Not for sure, to be honest.
So, Mr. Pratt has won the toss on this one, so introduced you at this time. Kenny Pratt, and come up and introduce yourself. You have 10 minutes. I will give you a warning about 30 seconds before your time's expired, so go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Kenny Pratt. I graduated Marshall County in 2000 here, and once I graduated, I went and joined the Marine Corps. I spent 10 years in the Marine Corps, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan on multiple deployments. After I did that, I was actually selected to go to Camp David and guard President Bush for 2 years at the presidential retreat. After that, I got out. I came back here, and I was fortunate to get on at Westlake as a supervisor. So I've been there for the last 11 years. Also, when I came back here with my training and background and everything, I wanted to do something to help the county. So I started with the rescue squad and the fire departments. So I've been a first responder for 11 years here in the county. I've worked with pretty much all the first responders at one point or another. I've held different titles. I'm currently the chief of the Marshall County Rescue Squad. So I've done that for the last 11 years. As far as my outlook goes, about 2.5 years ago, we had a bad case, and Michael Gordon asked me to join the coroners team. So I ended up going to coroner's school and then became a coroner for Marshall County. So for about the last 2.5 years, I've been a deputy coroner and done that since. Being the chief of the rescue squad, it's a nonprofit. So as far as balancing a budget and all I can do, as far as helping out with the responders, I'm used to working with almost every one of them. And that's pretty much it.
Mr. Mcwaters.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Neil Mcwaters, and I am running for the office of Marshall County Coroner. I'm a lifelong resident of Marshall County, a 1983 graduate from Marshall County High School, and a 1986 graduate of Mid-America Mortuary College in Louisville. While I was attending college in Louisville, I worked for the Jefferson County Coroner's Office, which that's a very eventful and a lot of experience gained there in this line of work. I've been a mortician and funeral director in Marshall County and the surrounding counties for over 30 years. I still constantly deal with numerous coroner cases with several other different coroner's offices in the surrounding area. I look forward to maintaining a good working relationship with all first responders, EMS, law enforcement officers, and other surrounding county coroner offices. As Marshall County's full-time coroner, I would like to see improvements made to the coroner's office facilities as we move the county forward. I have the experience, professionalism, and compassion to serve the people as your full-time Marshall County coroner, and I would appreciate it very much for all my supporters to ask them humbly for your vote on May 17th. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, Mr. Pratt, I'll let you field the question first, and Mr. McWaters, you'll have the opportunity to answer the same question, and we will do this in reverse order on ensuing questions. Okay, question number 1. How many death investigations have you been involved with during your career?
Since I've been a deputy coroner, Last year, we had approximately 150 cases. This year, we've had 40, and the year before, we had about 150. With those, I've helped out with 85% of them. So, does that answer your question? All right.
Neil?
Over the years that I've done this, it'd be countless numbers. I've never kept up with the exact numbers, but we're talking over 30 years of dealing with different deaths and different death situations, different coroner offices. So I really can't, I'd say it'd be in the hundreds, but I couldn't be exactly sure. I haven't kept count.
Okay, let me read the next question. You can stand up here and be your turn here.
All right.
Okay. What steps would you take as coroner to be certain you or deputy would file a death certificate in a timely manner?
Well, that would be, depending on the situation, if we were needing to wait for toxicology reports to come back before we get that information to know the manner of death, such as accident, suicide, homicide, or natural causes. But after that, you have 5 working days to sign the death certificate.
Kenny?
As far as signing death certificates, you'd have 5 days. With that, there's only 2 cases where it wouldn't be, and that's if you're waiting on toxicology. We send everything off to a lab. That's depending on the lab get back to us. In the other case, if it's up to the ME, which is the medical examiner, so it'll be on them, and we'll have to wait on that. Other than that, our office will do 5 days.
Okay, guess you'll field the next question, so just hang around. Mr. Pratt, what guidelines would you follow in ordering an autopsy at county expense if requested by a family member?
It's determined by the coroner. The family doesn't request the autopsy. It's up to the coroner during the death investigation on whether we want an autopsy or not. We're in constant contact with the ME in Madisonville and also Louisville. And if we have any questions, we contact the doctor on the ME on charge, and they'll help us work through the case.
Well, the choice of the autopsy is up to the coroner, whether he wants one done or not, and it'll be at the county's expense. But if the family wants an autopsy done and the coroner does not authorize that, then it will be the family's expense to have a private autopsy done.
Okay, question number 4. Mr. Mcwaters, if you're voted in as coroner, how many deputy coroners would you anticipate having on your staff?
Well, that'll be depending on the county budget, probably 2 or 3. I know we've got some good ones, so if they're good and we all get along, it'd be, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mr. Pratt?
As far as how many deputy coroners it'd be myself and 3. That way you have a 4-man rotation, 12-hour shifts. We have to cover 365 days a year, so you're going to have positive coverage. And also, what we currently do too is we come out and help each other. If there's a case, sometimes there may be 2 or 3 of us out there, depending on what's going on.
Okay, Mr. Pratt, concerning public records, are coroner's reports public records, and how is confidential information dealt with? How would they be dealt with under your leadership?
The coroner records are public. We keep them locked up in our office. If they want to request them, within 3 days, we'll get to as long as they do a proper request, we'll get those to the family.
Yes, the information on the death certificates, now, a death certificate is public knowledge, but the coroner's information would be having to go through the proper channels to retrieve that information.
Okay, my final question for the coroners. Why would you consider yourself to be the best person to be elected to this position? Mr. Mcwaters.
I bring several years of experience of dealing with the death industry. I know a lot of people in the county, and my experience and professionalism, I'd be a full-time coroner, so that'd be my only job. I would be dedicating my whole time to this. Thank you.
Since I graduated high school over the last 22 years approximately, I've dedicated my entire life to helping people. Did 10 years in the military, and then came back here as a first responder, and I've filled all kinds of capacities. I've worked with people from different nationalities, of different backgrounds, all the way up to the President of the United States. Every case we work, we'll do professionally. We'll have integrity for everything, and when you come in during your worst time of your life, we're going to give you the best care we can. We're going to help identify the cause of death, and we're going to help the families through their grieving process and through all the processes afterwards.
Gentlemen, we thank you, and also I hope you had your step counter on for your 10,000 steps for the day, too. Let's see, I'm at 9, never mind. Okay, alphabetically, next we're looking at the office of jailer, which is an important something. Of course, many of you know I'm employed as a funeral director myself. Jailers and funeral homes would be certainly one similarity. Nobody wants to think about having to use one, but you want a decent one and a respectful one if the occasion arises that way. Just don't get yourself in that predicament, I guess, but it does happen. But anyway, we have our two candidates for jailer. And let's see, who's first on the ballot? Okay, I'll let you call it there.
Heads.
Tails.
It's got a number 15, guys. I don't know what that means.
Not a sailboat.
It's not a sailboat this time.
Okay, again, we're going to give our candidates 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes to introduce themselves, tell a bit about themselves, and then we'll go into our series of questions for this office as well.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody being here. This is quite an opportunity, very nerve-wracking. The entire process is pretty stressful. But my name is Robert Johnson, and I'm running for Marshall County Jailer. I've been in the community for a while. Terry Anderson hired me on the sheriff's office back in 2006, and back then I made this place home. Now, I've got ties to Marshall County from when I was a kid. I did some growing up in Lone Oak. When I was a kid, we'd come down here, my papaw, and we'd do a lot of fishing. So I've always had that connection there. But you know, police service and community service has been my entire life. It's what it's all about. I think I was born to serve and born to help people that are in need, and that's just absolutely my drive. As a police officer, had a lot of good experiences, a lot of wonderful people that I've met and come in contact with, built some wonderful relationships and partnerships, and I've also dealt with a lot of folks that many people forget about. Many people just kind of shove off to the side. Many people, many families, many homes tend to want to get away from. Those dynamics get really affected by choices that people make, by addictions and by other things that goes on in their lives. And that's really hard. So as a police officer, I really wanted to help people. I really wanted to get down in the deepest valleys with them and lift them up and encourage them. The only real resource we had was a pair of handcuffs. Our talking skills, our ability to be able to communicate with the family and help them so that it guide them and strengthen them in order to do better. And that was really the limit of it, with the exception of working cases out in court through the county attorney's office. As a jailer, I foresee a plethora of ideas and stuff that we can really instill to really help these people and really rejuvenate the society. So the jail there's a great foundation that's already there. It's been built, it's been running, it's been operating, and it's a great foundation. There are programs there, MRT programs. I think that we can bring more of those programs into into that facility. We can really impact rehabilitation. We can really impact recovery. We can really give hope to people who otherwise feel hopeless. I'll tell you, because I know, because I've been there, I've seen it firsthand through my jobs. Nobody hates a drug addict worse than himself. That's the absolute truth. And they cow down, and they're so afraid to ask for help. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to look. Marshall County doesn't have anything. We really don't. We've got court. We got cops. If you want help, you got to go to Callaway County. You've got to go over to McCracken County. So let's start a resource here at the Marshall County Jail. Let's bring these programs in through partnerships. Let's work with places like Hertown and Neartown over reentry programs and rehabilitation programs in Callaway County. Let's partner with the McCracken County Jail, who built a trade center on the backside of the jail. They're teaching inmates how to weld and how to do HVAC and plumbing. They're getting certificates, and they have second chance employers. That's a great resource, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful, and I want to be able to partner with them. There's literally, this will blow your mind, there's literally a grant money is available that will assist in the transportation from one jail to the other. To take inmates from our jail, one or two, whoever screens in, over to McCracken County for those programs. There's literally a grant for that. So my qualifications, I've touched on it. I've been a police officer a little more than 20 years. I haven't worked that whole 20 years here in Marshall County. I started in Clinton as a full-time officer back in 2001. Before that, I was a special deputy with McCracken County. Had a really good time with that. Moved over to Livingston County in 2004, and Terry Anderson and Chris Glenn convinced me to come to work for Marshall County. I'm so thankful that we did that in 2006, and it just goes on from there. I'm crisis intervention certified. I've received some letters of commendation, life-saving award. I was even selected as a supervisor of the year back, I think it was 2020, and that was something that was voted on by my peers, the people that I supervised. They saw that I made a difference, and so they voted for that. Once I take office, I want to get the facility secure. I want to create room and workspace, classroom space, ministry space. Our 911, I think, is fixing to abandon the building and move off to somewhere else. That's a great area that we could definitely take advantage of in the temporary to be able to provide for these classes and provide for these ministries. And I think that I can get the fiscal court on board to help us with that, to be able to use that. So I want to create room. I want to create a secure facility. I want to get those upgrades. I want to develop proposals. There's so much that we can do to save taxpayer dollars. The current jailer even touched on that. I mean, we're wasting so much money on gas, with heating up boilers. There's better ways to do it. Let's get on board and let's get it done. I want to get policy and I want to get procedures in order. I want there to be a standard that everybody's expected to work by, the employees. There's a standard that I expect everybody to treat one another. I want to create promotional processes. I want to create fair and equal pay across the board. There's so much that can be done, and we just have to petition the fiscal court and really work on that and get a good budget in. The next phase would be, bringing in Celebrate Recovery missions, bringing in church missions, bringing in programs like Malachi Dads and other Christ-centered ministries. Something that I'm wanting to do is bring families in. Why can't we talk with them? Why can't we have somebody that they can communicate with before an inmate gets released, and so that they know what to expect whenever they do get released? The big thing here is that the crime rate in Marshall County alone is 27.84. That's a staggering crime rate. It's 27.84 per every 1,000 residents in this county. We have 32,000 people that live here. That's a big crime rate. Okay? Recidivism, which is a repeat offender rate, is 46.40% in Kentucky alone. Nearly 1 out of every 2 inmates will reoffend once they get out. Why is that? Well, they're getting some education there. Let's bring more in. Let's really get to the heart of their problem and really work on them and help them. And don't stop there. At that threshold, we're not done, I don't think. Not under my administration. We're going to help them with their reentry. We're going to set things up and get them ready to go so that they don't fall flat on their faces. And that is key. Whenever you introduce rehabilitation and all these efforts into these inmates, you reduce crime rates by up to 10%. Incarceration alone does nothing to your crime rate, and that's just something to think about. I've developed this initiative in my brain and in my heart, and it's called Inside Out. We all know that when you change things on the inside, you will outwardly show it. When you heal things on the inside, you will outwardly be more happy. If you apply that to a jail concept, I want to help them. I want to correctionally rehabilitate them inside of our facility with as many programs and options as we can possibly get a hold of that don't cost taxpayers a lot of money, if anything at all. Like, for instance, families and churches. Why can't they come in and help? It's free. It's absolutely free. So I want to help them on the inside, and I want to help transition them to the outside. I want to help them from the inside out, and that's what I plan to do. Again, my name's Robert Johnson. I appreciate you guys listening to me.
Thank you, Robert. And incidentally, there is coffee and water and cookies over on the side that way, and help yourself there. Mr. Holt's pointing at it there. Mr. Ford, 10 minutes, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to start off with thanking everyone for being here this afternoon, and not the prettiest afternoon out here, but you guys weathered the weather out here to get here to listen to us people. My name is Roger Ford, and I graduated Marshall County High School in 1982. I'm a lifelong resident. I guess I started off my politician pretty early in life. I was actually elected my class president in my senior year, which I don't know if that's a good bad thing or a bad thing, but anyway, my classmates elected me for that. I began my career in corrections actually at a very, very early age. I think most of you probably know my father was jailer for many years at the old courthouse up here. And when I was a young boy, I used to push a dust mop around that was bigger than me to help him clean the courthouse up. In '92, they opened what I still call the new facility on 5th Street. I went to work there in '92 when they opened. We actually moved inmates in. It'll be 30 years the day after Tater Day this year. I can remember we moved about 25 inmates. It was an 84-bed facility. We moved 25 inmates from the old jail to the new jail, and I thought, what in the world is this county doing building this size jail? Little did I know, I wasn't near as smart as I thought I was, because shortly after that, Callaway County shut their jail down, and we started housing all Callaway County inmates. We were very fortunate as citizens here in Marshall County, because Callaway County, along with state inmates, paid our jail off very quick. And then we started holding state inmates. So we went from 25 inmates to probably 120 inmates in a matter of months, to be honest with you, or we'll say maybe a year. We started a community service program with our state inmates then, working out of the secure part of the jail. In, I believe it was '95, we built a restricted custody building. Our restricted custody building actually it was a 64-bed restricted custody building that we housed Class D inmates in. These Class D inmates are low custody inmates. They're nonviolent, non-sex crimes. They're classified by the state to determine who gets to be over there. These folks get to go out and work during the daytime, and the state actually pays them a small wage a day to work with, and also they get work credit off of their good time, off of their sentence. With that being said, that's where the county also receives money for these state inmates. In the probably in the mid 2005, 6, I'm gonna guess, the law was changed for square footage per inmates. It went from 50 square foot inmates. I apologize, let me back up just a little bit. So we went from 84 beds to roughly 150 beds. In 2005, 6, don't hold me to the year for sure, but they changed the square footage per inmates from 50 square foot per inmate to 40 square foot per inmate, which allowed us to add beds to our facility, pretty much at no cost, I mean, other than the cost of the bunks. So we was able to add not only, we went from 84 beds in the secure part of the jail to something like 120 or something like that. And we went from 64 beds in a restricted custody building to 84 beds. So, now we're running roughly 200 beds now. Quite an operation. Honestly, I'm going to say probably a lot of you folks out here tonight probably have no idea that the facility was that large. Most people that I talk to, they think it's 50, 60, 70 beds, but it's quite an operation. When I talk about the restricted custody building, that's exactly what it is, a restricted custody building. It is not a secure building. So when you hear of these inmates that escape from jail, I have to beg difference there just a little bit, because it's pretty tough to escape an unlocked door. These doors are unlocked. We cannot lock them. The state says we cannot lock them because it's not a fire retardant building. Unfortunately, because of budget restraints, I generally have one man that watches. I believe today we've got roughly about 60 inmates in there. Population down a little bit in our restricted custody building right now. But I have one man to watch up to 84 inmates. So, with that being said, that's tough. That's tough. Now, also these inmates that we're talking about now, these are inmates that you'll see out here picking trash up, working for the city of maintenance. They work for the need line. They work for different agencies, governmental agencies. So as I said, they're low custody inmates. So they're out here working in the community anyway. They can take off from one of these job sites. And unfortunately, it's called a jail escape then also. My jail staff don't even watch them when they're out in the public. The agencies that have them, we put them through a supervision training, and they are trained on the do's and don'ts, not on how to stop them from doing this. We encourage them, if they take off, pick your phone up, call us. We don't expect you to chase them down. Now, we can talk about, as I said earlier, I've been around a long time. We'll talk about how long a family's been there. I'm proud of that. I'm very, very proud of that, because you guys are the ones that have kept me there. You guys are the one that has reelected me to keep me there. So with that being said, that makes me feel wonderful, because I have done my job. As someone said earlier, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think I've used the expression before. I see a lot of intelligent people out here. I can't imagine taking your automobile to get it brakes put on if nothing's wrong with your brakes. We have many classes in our jail. We have many Bible studies in our jail. We have many classes. We have about all that we can do, because this jail is 30 years old. We don't have unlimited classrooms like these new jails do. Malachi Dads, I certainly agree. Malachi Dads was coming in when the COVID hit. We had to shut them down because of the COVID. Partnering with other jails, we had a meeting with McCracken County Jail, December of 2019, with partnership and with their vocational program. Got shut down because of COVID. We had a meeting set up for December the 16th of 2021. got canceled because of the tornado. I got a call in February from McCracken County talking about partnership because they have got a grant, because my biggest problem was going to be able to get these inmates back and forth to McCracken County. I don't have the staff. I would like to do lots of things, don't have the staff. Actually, that was in February. I got a text Tuesday of this week, said, Roger, I haven't forgotten about you. We're getting close to getting this thing settled. Because my problem is getting them there and getting them back. But because of this grant, we're hoping that this is gonna help us.
30 seconds.
I appreciate you guys so much. And let me tell you something, these people in the red shirts back here, that's my family. That's my family. And I wouldn't be who I am today without them. And some of those are my employees, but they're family also. Thank you, guys.
Once again, we use the same format in presenting the questions that you sent us over the past week. And we'll begin with Mr. Johnson. Our first question will be, can inmates be utilized for tornado cleanup?
All right, inmates for tornado cleanup, it's like any other community service program that's out there. They absolutely can be used for that. They were thankfully, with COVID restrictions, they haven't really been able to get out a whole lot, but they were able to pull that through with that cleanup effort there in the Moores area and several other different areas. I believe I even seen a guard out there with them on a couple of occasions. So that was a great resource. That was wonderful. But I don't think we need to stop there. I think we also need to get them back out picking up, trash on the side of the roads. We need to get them back in our day use parks. We need to get them back in our refuge departments and things of that nature. And they were there, and I believe they will come back. But I will reinforce that, and that's something that I think he and I can both agree on. Community service with the inmates is definitely something that we will absolutely do. Thank you.
Mr. Ford.
Yes, inmates can work on tornadoes. We've had them work during the tornadoes. They cannot go on private property. They can only clean the right-of-ways up. We had them at Cambridge Shores for a couple of days. They cleaned the right-of-ways up. And I'm telling you, it's absolutely unbelievable when we took them out there. The volunteers and the contractors, we wasn't there 10 minutes. And I'm telling you the truth, they stopped. They just stopped and watched my inmates work. I mean, and they was like, when's that guy getting out? When's that guy getting out? I don't want to hire him. One of these guys, I'm telling you, probably 100 yards away was the gas can. Now, you got to understand, these guys hadn't been out in a long time, okay? He was I'm going to say the gas can was 100 yards away. He was in full sprint to get to the gas. I was like, hey, you don't have to do that. He said, but they knew that if they did not work, they wasn't coming back out tomorrow. But you know what they told me? They said, Mr. Ford, we want to give back to the community. We had them work in the distribution centers. Absolutely. First day I took them there, I was like, because unfortunately, guys, most of your volunteers are kind of like myself, older and little, maybe overweight a little bit. But when I took them, I said, guys, I don't mean to pry in your business, but I said, if you guys just get out of the way just a minute, they'll get that truck unloaded. And it was absolutely unbelievable, what was done there. Now, we are, starting Monday, we're getting our community service program back. I agree with what Robert said about trash pickup and everything. I can't make these agencies take them. And unfortunately, some of these agencies are not taking them. Unfortunately, well, this is probably not unfortunate. Some of the agencies that are taking them are not taking as many. And some of them probably didn't need as many. But roadside pickup is probably gonna be very slim, because I don't know that they're gonna take these inmates back.
30 seconds.
I will tell you again, there are jails that do have staff that take these inmates out. I don't have that, because it's so hard to hire deputies, period. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ford, well, I'll let you field this question first. Do you consider, or is the facility currently overcrowded? And if it is, what plans have you formulated to alleviate the situation?
The facility right now, right today, we've got 186 inmates in our facility right now. Now, with 60 of those, as I said earlier, being in our restricted custody building. So I guess the answer for today, yes, it is overcrowded a little bit, mainly in our female cell. I believe we've got 18 beds in our female cell, and we've roughly got, I believe there was 25 up there yesterday, with about 6 or 7 in the back ready to be moved up. So, yes, I mean, there are parts of the jail that is overcrowded. What we could do about it, I mean, honestly, there's only one option, is build, add-on build. You know, there's one thing about it, I definitely don't want to send my county inmates off because I have to pay them the house somewhere else. I could get rid of some state inmates, but your problem is, as I told my females the other day, because it is crowded, as I told them the other day, I said, ladies, let me tell you something. If Marshall County's overcrowded with women, every facility in the state, every facility around here is overcrowded. And a couple of the women said, Mr. Ford, you're exactly right, you know, because they knew. So generally, if one jail is overcrowded, pretty much they all are. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, so overcrowding is an issue. It has been an issue, and it's not just our jail. It's other jails, you know, in the state, other jails in other states. At times it's been really overcrowded. Sometimes, at times it's been not so overcrowded. Now, I don't work there, and I haven't been a deputy jailer there, so I don't know exactly how everything's set up or how it's all structured. But what I can say is that there is absolutely overcrowding. I do know that there has been Class D inmates that have to be housed in with the county side because of overcrowding. In one way that we can attack this and we can address this issue is, I agree, we don't want to turn away the county inmates because we'll have to pay some other jail to do that. Maybe limit state inmates. Again, I don't know. This is just me presumptively thinking because I'm not in that seat and I don't have that in front of me to be able to look at it and see if this is really the best option. The other idea is to build. We need to add on, or we need to build a new building that's better, more economical, will save taxpayer dollars and give adequate room for all the resources that I'm wanting to bring to that facility. And then as far as overcrowding is concerned, let's revisit the recidivism rates. 46.4%, let me say it again, 46.4%, nearly 1 out of every 2 inmates that are inside of a facility get released, and within 3 years they'll reoffend. Now that number goes up on the state statistics side, it's like 76% on the state side within 5 years. So that's a lot, those are big numbers. So how can we address jail overcrowding? One way is by implementing as many programs as we possibly can fit in there, given the staff, given the room, given you know the resources that we have, and try to curb those statistics. And I think every jailer in the state and every jailer that's running an office can agree with that. We need probably bigger jails, more staff, better pay, and we need to attract more jailers. I mean, he said it is hard to hire jailers at $13 an hour. You can't do it. So we need to raise that up. McCracken's starting theirs out at $14 an hour. I still don't think that's enough. I dealt with these folks on the streets when they're down in the dirt and they're really having a hard time. I've fought them into the cars, and we've had to fight them out of the cars into the detention center. I know what them deputy jailers are going through. And it's hard when people are in that moment where they don't want to go to jail, when they're in that moment where they're so lost and they're so hopeless and they hate themselves so much. The only instinct they know is to fight and to cause problems. So I think that we need to address that with more staff. We need to get the fiscal court on board. We need to get some more monies over there, get our pay raises up, make more room. There's just all kinds of things that we can do. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, your turn to go first again. How do the state inmates affect the current operation of the jail? What percentage of its budget does the revenue generated provide?
I missed that last part, I'm sorry.
What percent of the operating budget for the jail is garnered from the state inmates?
Okay. So currently, the state inmates, whenever we have state inmates come in to the facility, the state will pay per head cost. Now, I've previously stated that it would cost us a lot of money to be able to house them, but jails originally were making money off of state inmates. That's not the case anymore. With inflation going up, the cost of living inside of the jail is substantial. So a large portion of the budget goes to state inmates. It goes to feeding them. It goes to bathing them, clothing. It goes to taking care of them. I don't know what that percentage is. I don't have the full detailed budget to be able to go over that. And again, I'm not in that seat just yet, so I can't state with absolute fact different ways that we can, or different percentages of what those are. But I do know it's a large percentage of it. They've got that Class D side, and there's a lot of focus on that. Roger will definitely give you a lot more information on that. He'll answer that question a whole lot better than I did. With that, I'll give it to him.
Mr. Ford.
Actually, I think we have budgeted this year, I believe it's $1,100,000 and maybe $1,000,001, something like that. Believe we're gonna probably exceed that this year. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, we had a bad year last year, really bad year. Not Marshall County, but jails throughout the state. There's not one single jail, not one, in the state that hasn't suffered the last couple of years. We, as a Kentucky Jailers Association, I've been on the board of the Kentucky Jailers Association 10 years of my 24 years of being jailer. I've been on the executive board of the Kentucky Jailers Association for 12 years of my 24 years and still currently there. I am on the legislative committee right now. We've got some very, very important bills going through right now that could be big help for the jails. One of those being a $4 a per diem raise for state inmates. There's not been a state per diem raise for state inmates 15 years maybe. I apologize, I don't have the correct, but that could be a whole lot of money coming in right there. We're also in the process of passing a bill that would pay us for credit for time served. In other words, sometimes we've got inmates that sit in jail. They could sit in jail for 2 years or even longer. Now, I'm not saying that's all of them, but a lot of them sit there for many days before they get sentenced on a felony charge. And when they get sentenced, let's just say that somebody's been sitting there for a year. When they get sentenced, if they get sentenced to 5 years, they get a credit for time served. So they've already got a year served there. Well, that time that's served becomes on the county time because we're not getting back pay for that. So that is a bill that we're trying to get passed right now that would be tremendous help. Don't know for sure where that bill is going, to be honest with you, because DOC is not, Department of Corrections is not wanting to cooperate there to help us with the numbers. So we're trying to get it pushed through. Back to the programs just a little bit. We've had programs for several years. July the 1st of last year, not only are we helping these inmates with recidivism, but now the jails are getting paid for these guys to attend these classes, and when they graduate, it's big money. We're probably going to make about $100,000 a year this year off of them, possibly more, and that's going through partially with the COVID also, with it being shut down for a few months. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ford, your turn to go first again. do you consider all treatment, inmates get the same treatment in the facility? And a hypothetical situation or factual, if a relative were to become an inmate, how would they be treated?
Okay. Yeah, let's get this. Unfortunately, I thought 10 minutes was a long time, but boy, it didn't cover nothing. So we can talk about programs. Programs are absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, there are inmates, though, that don't fit the category of a program because they're not all good people that's in there. Now, I like to respect them all as long as they'll respect me. That's what I like. Now then, yeah, I like to see programs. I got a daughter that's a drug addict for several years. Been to many programs. And some of you know her. She's beautiful. And let me tell you something. When you stand back and you want to laugh at somebody or talk about somebody, because they got a family member that's got a problem, you don't have your eyes open. Because it's everywhere. Let me tell you something. It don't matter if you're poor, you're rich, you drive a Volkswagen, you drive a Cadillac, it doesn't matter. It's a problem. It's a big problem. Now then, the answer is more this question. I know where this question comes from, and I don't have a problem with it. There has been talk that I went and picked my daughter up from another jail and brought her to my jail. I let her have a cell phone. I let her buy a pizza. There is not one single thing of that being true, okay? I've never went and picked my daughter up from another jail. Yes, she's been incarcerated. She's been incarcerated in a few different jails, including mine. She was incarcerated in my jail not long ago. You know what? Because she had charges in Marshall County. So yes, they picked her up in Warren County and brought her to Marshall County. I didn't do it. The court system done it. But no, if you think that I'm going to give one of my kids privileges, no. That's enabling is what that is. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
And I'll applaud that as well. Whenever we have family members that are having problems like that, you know, it hits really deep at home. And I think we've all got them. I've got them in my family as well. I've got a brother that's been a meth cook for most of his life, and he spent several years in prison. So I understand that. The question was about being fair and treating everybody fairly, and I'll answer this question. I expect there to be a standard, not only a standard with the employees that everybody's going to be treated fairly and humanely, but also a standard with the inmates. Now, deputy jailers are just basically like cops. We're going to react to certain situations, so I can say with certainty that how an inmate is treated will be directly reflected by how they are acting out, and we're going to do it respectfully. If I find that any of my deputy jailers are abusing their authority, if they're talking down or cussing or treating anyone otherwise bad, I've got no time for them. They need to be counseled themselves, and they need to be straightened up themselves, period, end of story. We're not going to put up with it. Everybody will be treated fairly. Everybody will be treated equally. If there's a situation where we can't handle an inmate because they're just so violent and so volatile, we'll have to look and explore for other options and maybe put them in another facility or something like that. If it's a family situation, we're going to treat them fairly. We're going to treat them just like anybody else, period, end of story. I don't think that there needs to be any favoritism, and I don't believe there needs to be any enabling whatsoever, that not from me, not from anybody, not from anybody at all. If there's a deputy jailer that's working there and they've got a family member there or a best friend, and I see some favor, going their way, I'm going to have a problem with that. We need to be fair. We need to be across the board, and that's just the way that it ought to be. It's just the way that it ought to be. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, your turn to go first. How would you treat the receipts and the expenditures of the jail in regarding to transparency and public records?
All right, so receipts, in regards to the jail, there's several different types of receipts. We got receipts that would come in from the inmates. We got receipts that have to do with commissary, receipts with expenses. It's all a big money thing that goes on there, and there's a whole lot to that. So that is all a matter of public record. There's payrolls, there's budgets, there's everything. Now, with a jailer, there are actual laws that requires a jailer to submit quarterly or every year commissary funds. There's a law that requires jailers to submit all receipts every year. When the budget talks are happening, whenever they're doing their thing and getting everything situated, we got to show those receipts. So that's all covered by law. And it's all garnered by or governed by the law. Auditors come down about every year, and they'll audit the jail, they'll audit the sheriff's office, they'll audit the fiscal court and the county judge's. They'll audit basically everything to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing according to the law. And those audits, I believe, are posted on the county website, and they can be found by any citizen because they're posted there. So if there's ever any question about integrity, they can go there and look for the audit. They can ask questions. I'm sure that all the elected officials will be happy to answer anything that needs to be answered. But as far as that's concerned, it's all governed by law, and we're in the law business, so we're going to obey it explicitly. Thank you.
Mr. Ford.
Yes, kind of ironic that I've had complaints. I guess Department of Corrections when there's a complaint done, they send it to me. It's kind of ironic that all of a sudden, the past week or so, some of these questions that are being asked tonight have been complaints to me through the Department of Corrections. It's crazy. But anyway, answering these questions. Yes, we have an audit every year done on our commissary account. Never, ever, ever has it come up missing any money of any sort. Have we had a write-up on it? We certainly have. I think anybody that does anything, that's what their job is, so you're generally going to always have something. And the biggest one we have is segregation of duties. I've got 2 women that work in my office, so, what they want is like 3 or 4 different hands involved with this. Somebody counts the money, somebody deposits, somebody does this, somebody does that. I don't have the staff. So, unfortunately, that is something we have to contend with pretty much every year. But as far as any money being missed, anything like that, no. We have inmate accounts that money is deposited into a kiosk machine in the lobby, or family members can do it online. The money goes to the bank. Yes, we do have to empty the money out of the kiosk, but trust me, if it's not there, we're in trouble. Payroll, we don't do payroll. It's done through the Treasurer's Department. I think that covered that question, I believe. Do we have any more questions? I do encourage everyone as citizens to do one thing before you go to the polls. Do your homework on every candidate. Look, one of the biggest things that I do when I hire somebody, I flip to the second page and I see how many jobs they've had. I see how long they've worked at these jobs. Because you know what? If they don't hold a job, something's wrong. Thank you, guys.
Okay, gentlemen, we thank you very much. One of my other professions, many of you know this, I'm also a church organist. And it's been my experience over the years. I played at a wide variety of denominations. Now, my friends are Church of Christ and Primitive Baptist. I have not been invited yet, but anyway, there's one common thread I've seen in every worship service of any denomination or any church I participate in, and they take up an offering. Now, we're not going to do that tonight. Chad Darnold just asked me if I was going to take up an offering tonight. No, but I am going to plug this. The Jefferson Day Dinner is coming up on Saturday, April 23rd at the Calvert City Civic Center. Tickets are available, and it does help fund party activities. And I think the incumbents can tell you, people that have run in the past, they have received support from the county organization as a result of the fundraising activities, and we do encourage participation. It does take money to keep the party operating, and this has been a good way to do it. And I believe the keynote speaker is going to be Representative James Comer. And he's scheduled to appear. I think Senator Paul is sending a representative, and we may have some other people. So we do encourage people, and tickets would be available tonight, and we encourage you to come. All right, next on our agenda will be for County Judge Executive, and we have two candidates seeking the Republican nomination, incumbent Judge Executive Kevin Neal and incumbent 2nd District Commissioner Kevin Spraggs. Now, gentlemen, which one of you is first on the ballot on this one there? Kevin? Oh, yeah, it's going to be Kevin, all right.
Good guess.
And I stepped into that. Which one was? Me. Okay. Okay, Kevin Spraggs, you can call it as an heir.
Tails.
And tails it is. Okay, we will follow the same format. Kevin Spraggs will be given 10 minutes to introduce himself, provide information, and following that, Judge Neal will be allowed the same amount of time. Mr. Spraggs.
Start by saying thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come out to this. I'm Kevin Spraggs, 2nd District Commissioner. Let me start off by saying what an honor it's been to serve this great county. We live in the greatest county in the state of Kentucky as far as I'm concerned. We see that time and time again when we have an event, people come together to help each other that normally they may or may not. We've witnessed that on a large scale with this tornado, and we'll witness it again if anything else comes our way. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I reside in West Marshall on a farm with my wife Candy, our golden doodle Lola, and a bunch of cows. Our daughter Kennedy is graduating from UK the 6th of next month, and she'll be attending law school in the fall at UK. I have been a business owner over 25 years, and my wife started her business in 2008. Couldn't have been a worse time. Recession, nearly depression. Things were tough, but so is she. That business has excelled, and she's been one of the top producers in the southern region more than once. Very proud of that. We're up at 5 in the morning. We put in a minimum 60 hours a week. That's our normal week. We're not afraid to work. I will want to throw this out there. If I am elected judge executive, I will cease doing everything else I do. My daughter has some desire to possibly get into the real estate, and the rest of it's going to be on my wife. So, being a business owner, it's given me a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things, learn a lot of things. We've been through some lean times, and we've experienced some very prosperous times. That gives you a different perspective on spending money when you're spending your own opposed to someone else's. every decision we make in the office is a conservative decision. Because at the end of the day, one or two things are going to happen. Your business will either survive or it will fail. We have never had one fail. That's not an option. There's a few things, if I'm elected, this pretty much will be the way it is in my office. And too busy, I never use that phrase. I don't like it. You make time for what's important to you. I have an open door policy in my office. I'll have an open door policy in the judge's office if I'm sitting in that seat. Phones will be answered. You'll not get an answering machine. It's another pet peeve of mine. And the phone won't ring over 3 times, right, Candy? You'll not have to wait for weeks for an appointment with me. If I'm there and not with someone, I will see you. And I'm not saying anything I don't already do. And this is coming from somebody that runs 3 businesses and is a commissioner. And by the way, my commissioner duties come first. You ask anybody that knows me close. I drop everything else and do that. Come budget time, that's it. I take that very serious. I look at all the bills that come through. The office will always be open during business hours. That I can promise you. Everyone will be treated with respect in the office, in the courtroom, and elsewhere. Citizens will be able to speak at the meetings, as they should. I will not present an agenda to the commissioners at the start of a court meeting. I want everyone to have adequate time to do their homework and do any research they need on things that we're facing. If it's an emergency called meeting, that's a little bit different situation. I have the business, leadership, and people skills to lead this county in a positive, productive direction that will promote growth in our population, economic development, and bring respect to this county that it deserves. Thank you.
Judge Nate.
Good evening. Everybody pretty much knows who I am. This is my 7th year. From 2014, when I first ran, my initiative was to be a public servant, civic duty. Now, when I ran in 2014, it was a big challenge. I didn't come in saying I knew everything. I even actually said that I'd be drinking through a fire hose. And it's true. Anybody that seeks this office, no matter what office you seek, you'll be drinking through a fire hose. And as citizens, it's our duty. I used to be in that seat as a citizen. I got it from the rumor mill. I got it from the paper. I didn't actually do my own research to get the information. And as a citizenry, we need to be more informed. Don't get it from a third party. And I say that regardless of who you are, what position you hold, is because when you're more informed, you make better decisions. And I've seen a lot from my office where there's just so much outside. And when I ran in 2014, even though Mike won, I ran in 15. And one of the first things I did, and it was mentioned tonight about the county webpage, we put it all out there for you. Right now, you can pull up your phone. You can pull up minutes from the court. Any actionable item that was done in court, it's there for you to look at. So there shouldn't be any misrepresentation as far as what has been presented to court. Now, economic development. If we're not growing as a community, we're dying. In the past 7 years, the census that just came out, we had an uptick. So we actually did have growth in population. But more importantly, we have to diversify our industry. And in Southwest One, it was a success. It's still a success. We have showed Southwest One the companies that are interested coming to our community. One of the biggest issues is the labor force. People wanting to work. Well, that's something that you and I, how do we get somebody to want to work? It is a real issue. The trade industry. These companies are not going to come here because of elected officials or good people. They're going to come here because they want skilled labor. They want people who can actually do the work. And that's a community working together. And since I've been in office, we've done that. You can go out off 641, you can see it. The amount of energy and the amount of time that it takes to learn, to get all the information in 2016. And the people that really know me, I don't have a problem talking about the tough issues. Because being a leader in this county, you better be ready. You have to make tough decisions. If I make decisions because you're my buddy, that's not why I ran. So if I make decisions that's not going to benefit us as a community, then that's my fault. But I have to make tough decisions, and I'll make those tough decisions. But if you look at the legislation that I have brought to the fiscal court, it's not one man voting. There's 4 of us. And the legislation has passed. The percentage of what I have brought to the court is because the work was done, the information was shared, hours. You can ask any one of these commissioners. There's times where we have spent plus 3 hours, recess for bathroom breaks because I like to just go. But we have put a lot of effort into making the legislation to where the informed voters, the 4 of us, we get all the information. 911. Nobody likes to talk about it, but there's a lot of talk going about it. Folks, 2016, I did a lot of homework. I got invited down to Paducah. I sat in a meeting. I wasn't here in 2010 when KSP gave their presentation, but I went. I sat in. I invited other elected officials to come down. They came down. They got to hear. And I walked up saying, this is more than just going here or going there. This is a state issue. I was awarded in 2020 as leadership for 911. We solved for the state the actual funding mechanism. Nobody wanted to touch it. They'd rather just reach in your pocket and pull more money out of it. I'm a taxpayer. When I actually got to sit in that seat and see what actually is happening with 911 across the state, I'm not going to do that to you. I'll take the tough issues, bring it to the court, put it on the table, we'll discuss it, and let the votes fall where they may. That's as simple as it is. And what we've done here in Marshall County with 911 is we went to the next level, which is NG 911. It's a benefit to us. There's 115 certified PSAPs in the state. And when you travel, now the state certifies them. If you travel from one community that has a certified PSAP, because not every community has a PSAP, the service is not the same. And some of your smaller communities that are more challenged, those individuals that live in those communities, they pay more because it's a vendor-driven business. Now, we've heard a lot about the director. We did. We hired him. We paid him $80,000, and we're getting a deal. I'm not going to say the community I didn't open records with, but I know. I went and got the information. A consultant, if you hired a consultant to do what this man did, $1.2 million is what he has saved us. A neighboring county, just to do an RFP. Does everybody know what a request for proposal is? A neighboring county. In 2017, I had that same conversation with the engineering firm from Florida. $25,000 just to do an RFP. An RFI. He's done 4 RFPs and 6 RFIs. And when you look at those costs and a request for proposal, you're not getting anything other than information. It costs this community $14,000. And then you add into the grants that he's brought to this community. Folks, who all has a cell phone? Everybody does, right? Where does that money go? It goes to the state. If we're not up in Frankfurt getting that money and bringing it back to our community, then that's on us. But we have gone to Frankfurt, we have submitted grants, and we brought that money back to our community. We have actually saved money, and we were very blessed that this gentleman came to our community. And some of us, the way we've treated this man and his wife, should be ashamed of yourselves. Seriously. It is not representation of this community. I grew up here. Marshall County there's a select few. And it's just not what we need to have representing this community. And I'll fight that every day of the week. It's not fair, and I don't support it. People that know me know that I bring issues to the table. We've had a lot of discussion. Infrastructure. The fiscal court does not own a water district. We don't own, we've kind of taken in a sewer district. But when you look at the expansion on infrastructure, Benton's infrastructure, millions of dollars. And as Commissioner Collins said in court, we don't get 1 penny off of it for revenue. We have expanded Hardin's infrastructure,
2 minutes.
Benton's infrastructure, water districts. And it's because one thing I found in 14, I didn't really know this. When I was knocking doors, a large percentage, close to 40%, of our citizens do not have access to potable water. Since I've been in office, we have been getting water out to folks. $6 million in ARPA monies. But here's the thing. The fiscal court can sit there and throw monies on the table, but it's not our infrastructure. And if the entities that own the infrastructure are not preparing or repairing their infrastructure to where we can expand, it's only going to cost us money. So I make the decisions because I'm a taxpayer. And I do my homework. And I look into the details so that I can bring it to the court so that the four of us have the best information on the table to make decisions. And I'm going to run again. I'd look for your vote, and I would still continue the same initiative. So thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Spragsby, your turn to respond to the first question. Concerning the 911 dispatch center, what percentage was paid for by grant funds? And if the pending tax assessment on meters was not to be ruled legal, what funding mechanism would be utilized to continue making payments or paying off the cost of the 911 center?
Well, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know right off what percentage was paid with grant funds. I don't have that information in front of me. I can tell you this, if the meter fee, repeat that again on meter fee?
If it's not held to, doesn't meet muster, of course it's being challenged in court.
Okay.
How would the funding be replaced that would be generated by that?
If it does fail in court, the budget that was voted on will not go into place, which I hope that doesn't happen. So at that point, we would have to look at what the actual cost on it will be, because all I have to base that on is the projected, which it was taken from $897 to $1,924,000. I voted against that. The salaries are off the charts, and a lot of the line items in the budget are off the charts. I did not support that then. I will not support that going forward.
Say the question again, so
Okay, what percentage of the 911 dispatch center was paid for by grants? And if the meter assessment does not pass legal muster, where would revenues come to make up the difference?
Okay. The multi-facility, actually, if everyone remembers, in 2018, we had a fire. 10,000 square foot facility burnt. Insurance, we got $1.2 million. The bid that came in to build the multi-facility, and when I say multi-facility, it's because the building that burnt actually only housed the maintenance. It became a catch-all for all other agencies, but it housed the maintenance department. So it gave us a great opportunity to build a new facility, 911 on the end, maintenance on the other end, and the clerk's office, we designed them specifically to where they don't have to get out in the rain when it comes time to check the voter machines. So it's all designed for the clerk's office. So you have three agencies that use that multi-facility. The multi-facility was a bid of $2.4 million. The fee, I've talked to judges across the state. You've got water meters. Now, I got an electric meter. Can you imagine, or I actually live on a well, I got a well. Could you imagine if I put a fee on you, on your water meters, the criticism that I would get, the judge is putting a fee on you, but not himself. And not only that, the numbers. We had 6,700 landlines, which are declining. We lost $100,000 during COVID in 2020. So the landlines decline. We jump out of the frying pan into the fire with the water meters. We averaged about 8,000 water meters. It doesn't solve the problem. So when we looked at electric meters would get us up to about 18 to 20,000 meters. But nobody wanted to do that. The first person in our representative's office after we passed it was lobbyists. Lobbyists in Frankfurt. The electric company lobbyists were up there because they knew if we put this in place, it solves all these counties. You've got counties in Lincoln County, Garrett County, they got sued. Campbell County, they got sued. All these counties got sued by trying to solve a funding mechanism that the state has already laid out there for us. But as elected officials, most elected officials don't want to make the tough decision to make it better for you. We're talking about 911. We're not talking about, another service like getting food off the shelf. This is 911, where when you call 911, you have an emergency. The funding mechanism, we won the first leg. Judge Russell gave us a win, and we knew it. The gentleman that is our attorney represented the counties at the state Supreme Court, and he won. We knew we were going to win this case, and we're going to win this case. It's a good argument, and the statute is on our side. The 23rd Amendment, who knows what that is? Slavery. That's their position. Do you know your school tax? Go home, check your electric bill. You'll see a school tax. That's a pass-through tax on the utilities to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'll stay handy. You go first next year. Okay, specifically, the issue of county water, extending potable water to the entire county has come up. Discuss specific plans. How would you like to see that expanded, and would it be possible to include all homes in the county?
Again, the utilities, the water companies, you got North Marshall, you got Benton Water, you got Hardin, you got Johnson Creek, and you got Calvert City. So these water districts, the fiscal court does not manage them. We do appoint Johnson Creek and North Marshall, but it's their infrastructure. They manage it. They manage the budget. Now, monies that we have gotten over the years, since I've been in office, we have put towards expanding some of these districts. It is going to be a challenge. You've got just right now $6 million. $6 million to you and I, that's a lot of money, right? Doesn't go far when it talks about water or sewer. But one bite at a time on that elephant. That's the way we need to look at this. We expanded Johnson Creek, $700,000. We're getting ready to expand Hardin. We just approved the 2 projects, $1.1 million. Benton, Oak Level, that's about a $4.5 million. So we have put monies on the table, but if you're talking about not going after grants, not getting monies, we're going to have to, again, look at the budget. And quite honestly, we've got to free up monies. 911, we free up that subsidy. We put a budget in place for you to see what the fee is. And here's the thing. Kevin voted against it, but he said he wanted a $5 fee. The way we designed it is where if other counties come on, Lyon County, if they come on, it's 11% of operations for the 911. Well, what do you think they now can do with the fee for electric? They can get the monies off the fee, bring it to the operational demand that they bring, which is 11%. Our fee goes down. So when you get to the consolidation of it, it actually reduces the fee over time. And when you free up the subsidy with 911 or the jail, we got subsidies going everywhere. But when you free up the monies we already got, then you can start looking not only water, but broadband. Broadband, $26 million for this community. And there's people out there who has water, who's on a municipality who has water.
30 seconds.
They want broadband. So as elected officials, we still have people that don't have water. I say, we run as slow as our fastest runner. That's how we move. We can't forget our folks that don't have access to bottled water. Thank you.
Mr. Sprague.
I voted against the sewer expansion at Draftonville. It has approximately 8 paying customers. It will take 451 years for it to pay for itself, and that doesn't include maintenance along the way. That would likely add another 20 years to that number. That, along with the fact when I asked Chad McCann, the engineer, the question, would it accommodate a hotel? The answer is no. Go back and watch the meeting, it's all on there. I also stated in court, and it's on video, I would rather see that money go towards much-needed water projects. Why? Got this on my phone if anybody wants it emailed to them. That is a white sink in West Marshall. Would you want your child or grandchild or yourself to brush your teeth in that, take a bath in that, or anything else? No, you wouldn't, and I wouldn't. That $1.3 million would have ran 7.5 miles of line extension. That's how I feel about our water. It's important. I watched neighbors down the road in their late 70s have to go get a loan for a well. They could see a water tower from their house. It's not about having the money, it's where you're spending the money. That's important. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Sprague, your turn to go first, and here's our next question. Explain your position on the vote concerning the appeal concerning the retirement issue.
The retirement issue, we got a bill for unpaid retirement pertaining to the sheriff's office, and it related to hazardous duty officers whom had already retired. And they were saying that we owed retirement on those officers. And I consulted with the county attorney on this, getting as much information as I could, looked at the KRS on this. To me, the KRS was clear. We did not owe that. It clearly stated you do not pay it on already retired officers. So I made the motion for the county attorney to file an appeal. And the county attorney filed a 7-page appeal, and we won the appeal. There was no wrongdoing. There was nothing owed. I saved us $350,000. My opponent voted no.
Judge Neal.
Okay. First off, the KPPA, you've got Sears, a year and a half ago, the retirement system, if you remember, separated out. CERS separated out. This is a KAR, Kentucky Administrative Regulation, not a KRS. The KAR, the regulation is not in the KAR. And it's the same argument that I had attorneys already look at with KSP regarding the KAR with the management user agreement, which is in the KAR. So when you look at the Kentucky Administrative Regulation, that's the law. If it's in there, you follow it. If it's not in there, you don't follow it. And that's the whole principle of the argument. And that argument was actually brought to the table. That was what the argument was, is that the regulation, and let's not forget whose responsibility it is to fill out the retirement forms. Not mine, not the fiscal court. It's the sheriff or the jailer or whoever has hazardous duty or non-hazardous duty. If you have, in this case, it's hazardous duty. You hire somebody, that's a totally different employer. That issue got thrown into my lap, and I fixed it. KPPA said, this is what you need to do. In the month of May, we were given 30 days, and we got the proper documentation to the agency, said, here's the issue, because some employees, the proper forms, these are regulations that KPPA requires. The proper forms were given to them. The forms were filled out on employees. Other employees weren't filled out. I don't know why. That's not my job. That's not the fiscal court's job. This issue came to us. So when it came time to fixing the issue, that's what I did. I administratively made a decision, advised the agency, you have to fill this stuff out. But the real issue is this. Counsels for KPPA or CERS or the fiscal court do not vote. The four of us on the fiscal court vote. The board at the state, those board members, I reached out to KPPA. I asked the question in court, has this regulation
30 seconds.
been changed? And the question was not answered. What was said is they're talking about it. I reached out to KPPA, and the KPPA board hasn't seen it. Marshall County, since I've been in court, 20 years ago, we had to pay for a retirement issue 3 or 4 years ago. So this issue, to be resolved, you have to litigate it. And that's not uncommon with KPPA. You got to take it to the courts, not two attorneys sending a letter back and forth.
Okay. Judge Neal, your turn to go first again. Your compensation or salary is determined by the state of Kentucky. Please explain the funding mechanism or the decisions made regarding salaries and compensation for the county commissioners.
So what the question is referring to is the constitutional elected officers. Myself, the sheriff, the jailer, the clerk, we don't actually have a say in what the state sets our rate at. When you're talking about the commissioners, and I've looked at this when I first came into office, I used McCracken County. McCracken County has a population of about 65,000 people. At that time, when I looked at it, McCracken County paid their commissioners $24,000. What had happened over the years in Marshall County is the fiscal court would take the rate that was sent down for the 4 constitutional elected officers, as I just explained, and they would add it to the commissioners. And what had happened, based off of that formula, is that you got Marshall County, where we have commissioners making about $36,000 with benefits, and McCracken County, since 2016, when I looked into this, has raised their commissioner salaries to $28,000. And so when you look at the population that they govern, Marshall County had about 180 uptick in the census that we just had. We're about 31, just shy of 32,000 people. It doesn't make any sense. So when I was in, I was like, we don't need to pass that on. We've got to manage the budget, and that's what I've done. I've made tough decisions. My fellow commissioners, I had to sit with them and tell them, I'm going to put you in a salary position where you need to be comparable to a county with the population. It's just, I'm a taxpayer. It makes sense to me. It should make sense to other taxpayers. Why are we paying $36,000 with benefits when we have twice the size of the county? To me, it was simple to make that decision because it made sense to me as a taxpayer. If we were making $36,000 for our commissioners with benefits, a lot of people don't know this. When I worked in the civilian sector, I had to pay out of pocket for my health care. That's one of the biggest tools that we go out to people and say, come work for Marshall County, is we cover not only the individual, but the family. How many people out in the community
30 seconds.
either have to go find insurance or only the employee gets insured and not the family? We've got great benefits that we offer to our people, but they work 40 hours a week and they work a lot of hours. So that's why I made that decision. Thank you.
Commissioner Spraggs.
Would you repeat the question again, please, Tony?
The state determines the compensation for the judge executive. What mechanism is used to set the compensation for the commissioners?
Right. The state does set that. They just set an additional 7% raise to that position. First year we were in office, the judge did try to cut our salaries, which the only time salaries can be cut is the last term in office. That's the only time they can be changed up or down. We've never taken a raise. I'll tell you this, for what we've been through and had to endure for the last 3.5 years, 36,000 is a joke. I'm just gonna tell you. And the hours and hours and sleepless nights and dealing with budgeting, with a pandemic, tornado. I'm out an hour after it's over. I come home about 28 hours later. I take this job very serious, and I do earn my money. I promise you that. If I didn't, I'd step down. The other elected officials have not had a raise either. The coroner, the county attorney, and they all agreed to that. You know, we've been through some trying times with the pandemic, the uncertainty, now the tornado, but to say something's overpaid, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. So I'll say this, the commissioners that do this job, if they're doing it right, it involves a lot of time, a lot of headache, stress, sleepless nights. If I get a call from a citizen on anything, I could take the easy path and call Roy at the road department. Say, hey, this problem, I'm gonna shoot you a photo of it, take a look at it. I don't do that. I get in my vehicle, I go to their house, to their business, whatever the situation may be. I meet with them, I discuss the problem. I determine if it's worthy of calling the road department or whomever out. It could be a situation where it's someone other than the road department. But I do the job, I do it right, I'll do the same thing if elected judge.
Okay, once again, Commissioner Spraggs. Does the Marshall County Fiscal Court currently fund any portion of the operation of the ambulance service? And is the ambulance service close to being self-supporting at this time?
We fund, I believe I've got this right, we fund the equipment on the ambulance service. They take care of the personnel. Are they close to being self-sufficient at this time? You know, that would probably require a meeting with David Fiscal with the hospital. We haven't had any discussion on that as a court. They do a great job. You know, some of the equipment we have to vote on, you know, it's like everything else. I've got a lot of surprises while I've been in office on the cost of things. And, you know, right after the tornado, I was at a resident that had fallen off his roof, and I just happened to be coming by on my side-by-side and stopped, and he had injuries pretty severe, and I waited with him while the ambulance got there, and the, I think it's called, I'm probably wrong on this, striker lift component that we voted on. I was very proud to have cast that vote when I seen that in use. So I think we've got a great staff at our ambulance service. You know, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, the relationship currently with the hospital is working. I would much rather, as a business owner, if I had the option of managing equipment or personnel, that's kind of a no-brainer for me. Thank you.
Judge Neal.
Years ago, actually when I first came into office, years ago, they started rotating out EMS. EMS used to actually be the CNA, the county has it, the employees that were EMTs, paramedics, county employees, as they would retire, the hospital actually would hire. We have totally rotated out all county employees as EMS. So the hospital actually manages the employees of the ambulance service. The contract that the fiscal court has, we've got a contract that is, I don't know, 15, 20 years old. $202,000 is what we contract. Tried to bring it up for discussion in 2016, didn't go anywhere. The issue is that what we wanted to look at was the monies that are coming in because the county has a CNA. Do we have the best contract on the table? Because the amount of monies, just from a FAR review, we were looking at, there was quite a bit of monies coming in, and it was going in to either the hospital or the actual ambulance service. So that's what we wanted to look at. Do we have the best contract on the table? And now with House Bill 777, I believe the actual Senate may have just passed it. My association that I sit on, I'm on the legislative board, we had the compromise. And the CNA, when you get into the bigger cities, you know, we're rural Kentucky. And when you get into those big cities in northern Kentucky, the Golden Triangle's real. I've seen it. They actually have a lot more power with legislation. So when it comes to our ambulance service, we provide the equipment in that contract. The striker load system, Brian's come to me. He's our ambulance director. He needed training. We put monies on the table to train the employees to get EMT certified and try to get them up to paramedic. Because again, we want the best folks in that vehicle when you call for an emergency. Not only the striker load system, but the ventilators. We used to have the old ventilators. Try doing CPR. If you've never done CPR, try doing it to Nashville or to Paducah. You know, physically, it's gonna make both parties suffer. So we got digital ventilators. It just made sense. It's good equipment. Brian came to the court, asked, and all of these initiatives, he went and got grants for. And again, the monies that leaves our community that goes to the state, we go to the state, we put grants in, and we bring those monies back so we can give the best equipment that we can for you when you have an emergency.
Judge Neal again, your turn to go first. I'm gonna get you all exercised tonight. One person submitted the question. In their opinion, they feel that the tax to support the Marshall County Library System is disproportionate compared to what supports the fire departments. What is your opinion? Elaborate, please.
Thank you. Well, real quick, the library board is its own entity as a taxing district. We don't manage the library. Obviously, this facility is a new library. Does anybody know how much this costs us as taxpayers?
$6 million.
Close to $7 million. Haven't heard a peep. But the reality is that there is legislation because the county judges across the state want to change it. The judge executive by statute appoints board members. All the boards that are taxing districts in the county, the judge appoints, the fiscal court approves or doesn't approve. The way the library board works is they submit names to the state. The state then submits the names to me. It's typically 2 names, and they say, based off a statute that you have the authority to appoint, here are the 2 names. If I were to say, you know what, the fiscal court, we don't want to appoint either person, then the state picks. That's been an issue since Elkins over in Callaway County has been fighting that. There's legislation on the table right now to get that changed so that as elected officials that you elect, we appoint the people on the boards. And that's the representation that you should have. So the fiscal court really doesn't have a say on that tax. It's set by the the library board. Now, since we're talking about tax and I got some time, let's talk about the tax that you see on your utility bill. Who all sees the school tax on their utility bill? Okay, where do we pay our school tax? On our property taxes. It's a pass-through tax. The state allows the school board to put a 3% tax on you, or actually on the utilities. The utilities, and this is the electric companies, they pass it through to you. So when you see that on your bill, okay, I wrote a little memo on my check and I said, I'm not paying your tax. And they said, we're going to shut your electricity off. But then they're suing us over the 23rd Amendment. It's a pass-through tax. Most people don't realize that. There's so many things that I have learned by sitting in this seat. As a taxpayer, it really gets me upset because I'm like, wow, we are really not paying attention to what's going on from the federal level all the way down to the state level into our own community. And I put all that out there so that you can be aware. So, thank you.
He pretty well covered that as far as us not having much, if any, control over the taxing districts. That includes the library, the 109, fire departments. But here's what we do have control over: the board appointments. In my opinion, here's what needs to happen with the board appointments. They should be advertised, every single one of them. You might be surprised the qualified people that we would have that would step up for those positions if they were aware of it. Every single one of them should be out there for the community. We have some brilliant minds in this community in all different fields, and we might be surprised who would step forward other than the select few that are handpicked. And that's all I've got to say on that subject.
Next question, Commissioner Spraggs, your turn to go first. Do you support term limits for any public official? Why or why not?
I think there definitely should be term limits on a federal level and probably on a state level. I think if people are in office too long, there's too many things they're capable of doing that's not in the best interest of their constituents. As far as a local level goes, I hadn't put much thought into that. We certainly see it on a national level with, they're still in there serving 80, 90 years old. It's like, give me a break. I mean, that's just, that's ridiculous. I think if you're called to serve and you are sincere about that, I think you will know when it's time to step away. And I can assure you, if I'm elected, I have no intentions of doing that for 20 years. I mean, locally, should there be term limits? I don't know that I have an opinion on that, but I think people who are in, for the right reason, they'll know when it's time to step away without the people deciding. Thank you.
Folks, the answer to that question is you. You're the voter, you end the term, or you keep them in. It's that simple. If we continue to put people in for 20, 30, 40 years, you got to look at that district when you get to the federal level. I mean, it is what it is. But the voters have the ability to end terms or to keep people in. I want to go back to what was previously said. The library board is not the 109. The 109 is the actual refuse district.
I didn't say that was.
And there is a tax. And I'm going to talk about the 109. We hear this discussion of double tax. Look at section 4 of the actual, what was passed in court with the ordinance. Section 4 talks about the 911 fee and the double fee. Who lives in Benton right now? Who actually resides in Benton? You pay a franchise. What is it? Pick up your trash. $11. You also pay a refuse tax. Calvert City has their own trash pickup, so they don't pay the refuse tax. This year it just went down. I think it's .085 on tangible, and real is .80. When we really want to talk about this is good legislation here. Okay, as trash comes into our community, and it's actually taken out the waste path, we have a host agreement. I voted, and the court voted, to increase that because for years they were getting 2%. That was about $60,000, which was coming into our budget. When we found out that we could put it at 6.25%, that's what I pushed for. We have doubled that. We're bringing in about $120,000, and all the monies go to the road department. Now, what I suggested is that the trash, when you franchised in Benton, your trash, who picks it up? Republic? They take it out of county. We're losing monies. If they went with Waste Path, which was the lowest bid, the trash from Benton, which would be quite a bit, would go to the landfill, and I would earmark those dollars. I would bring that legislation to the court and say, look, let's take those monies, give it back to Benton, because there are specific things that you can do with it. Paved roads, clean roads, and hazmat response. That's it. That's good legislation. The other way is interlocal agreements. The days of calling and saying, hey, go do this, it's not legal. You can't do that. But that's good legislation. Benton knew about that.
30 seconds.
And they franchised it and they went with Republic. If you're a Benton resident, try to get that changed because that is a great way to put monies back into your streets and your sidewalks to actually maintain what you have. And that's how that host agreement that I pushed for, and the court saw the good legislation and they passed it. Thank you.
Okay, Judge Neal, your turn again. If reelected, and I'll reverse this when Commissioner Sprague's comes to the podium. If reelected, how would you work to foster a sense of unity among the fiscal court, among the various units of county government, and various state agencies that interact with Marshall County?
Everybody's heard the term team effort. Everybody has to be on board. The one thing that the fiscal court has to manage, and there's a lot, but the one main thing is the county purse. And just like the legislation, if you go back and you look at all the legislation that I have brought from my office to the fiscal court, which I have not, when it comes to the commissioners that bring legislation to my office and communicate issues that they hear out in the county, Justin Lamb's one. He's brought a lot of issues to the table. Monty's actually come by the office. Commissioner Sprague's been in my office twice. I asked him to come see me one time, and the other issue was with Travis Construction. That's it. No legislation brought to my office. If you're going to be a representative of the fiscal court, it's four of us. And if you don't bring any legislation to the table, then how are you going to benefit your district or the county? I mean, think about that. 3 years. I've made tough decisions. Some of you, as far as the agencies, it's doing the same thing over. I see a lot of fire chiefs here. Tonight, I spent, before this meeting, the fire channel's down. During the tornado, we had a fire department on an island because of a DMR system. It was down. The two agencies couldn't talk. Our infrastructure across the board. We have to accept the fact that, folks, we work for the taxpayers. Those fire departments are taxing districts. I can only do my part to bring legislation to the table. If there's backbiting and not working together, it's all of us. We have to work together. We had an issue. I had a grandmother that came to my office. All right, I used to sit on the K-Beams board. Had a pediatric cardiac arrest. Young child, her granddaughter died. They're doing CPR. In order to do an actual assistant agency to come in, you have to follow K-Beams. And this isn't a dig on anybody. It's just the facts. If you're going to have AED, the emergency services are governed by state laws, and KBN governs that. They could not call out the agency that was actually where the young child was dying because they weren't in that mutual aid agreement. We got the whole county to participate on that so that we'd never see this again. And that's why we got the devices to where it would free up that second EMT to help do chest compressions. But arguing in the driveway, the grandmother came to my office. I was furious for her because of what she witnessed. We have to work together.
Time.
Could you repeat the question, please?
How could, if elected to the position, what would you do to foster unity among the fiscal court, among the county officials, and the state officials that interact with Marshall County?
Okay, this award I received in 2015 says a lot about me as a person, I think. I was nominated Realtor of the Year. I was elected Realtor of the Year. That has nothing to do with selling a house, a piece of land, or anything else. What it does have to do with is working well with the nearly 100 agents in the board. I'm proud of that. Being a realtor, I say all the time, I've got a different boss every day. I don't care if they're 21 years old and have nothing, or if they're a 75-year-old millionaire. I always tell them, you're the boss. I'll advise you, but you're the boss. And that's how I operate. You bring unity by showing respect, period. As far as bringing things to the table, I bring things to the meeting because they have been refused to be put on the agenda. So I learned real quick, address them at the meeting as new business or old business. I can assure you one thing. If I'm judge and somebody wants something on the agenda, it'll be on the agenda. If a citizen wants to speak, they'll be allowed to speak. There'll be a time limit. We all know some long-winded people, Candy, Tracy, so Mike, wherever you are. But anyway, unity is respect and surrounding yourself. A good leader surrounds herself with people with diverse perspective who are able to disagree with you without fear of retaliation. That's who I am. Thank you.
Okay, folks, we've put these two gentlemen through about an hour, so this is going to be our capstone question. And Mr. Spraggs, it's your turn to go first on this one. Considering this position that you are seeking, what do you view as the biggest challenge to Marshall County? What do you plan on doing to meet that challenge?
The biggest challenge is getting the out-of-control spending back under control, uniting everyone in county government, elected officials, our constituents, and I can do that in short order. This county, as I said earlier, will come together at the drop of a hat during a crisis. They'll also come together under proper leadership. Thank you.
And Judge Neal. The question again, considering the position that you are seeking or seeking to be reelected to, what do you view as the biggest challenge to this county, and what do you plan on doing to meet that challenge?
Folks, if we don't free up cash, if we don't free up what we're already spending, and don't lose focus, 911 was to kill two birds with one stone. We put the next generation 911 in place. When you look at the federal guidelines, the $10 billion that they're putting in, when that goes, we'll have a direct line to request monies that come from the federal level into our 911 center. But it's to also free up that subsidy. If we can't accomplish freeing up the subsidy, dig into your pockets. With the increase in retirement, the increase in everything, you're gonna have to find the monies from somewhere. You can't stand up here. I've heard a lot of people say they want, a lot of wants. When department heads come to me, I tell them, give me your needs and your wants. I'll make darn sure I can bring the needs to the budget, but your wants, we're gonna have to talk about them. And there's been a lot of people that brought wants to me that I just said, you know what, it's not gonna happen this year. But the needs, I've done everything I could as a judge executive to get them the needs. I can't tell you enough. We can get into a who's who. The budget is what the budget is. The key was to put a fee in place to free up already monies that we had. And if that doesn't happen, the money's gonna have to come from somewhere. And we are so heavily dependent on our income tax out of the plants in Calvert. We have one major plant shut down. We're gonna have to make major decisions. So the tough decisions, when I came in the office, I knew as I was drinking through that fire hose, I'm gonna have to make tough decisions. And it's everything. Our infrastructure is been dilapidated, and it's not pointing at any one person. It's just the reality. And to fix it, you need monies. I sit on PAC row. I actually got PAC row to put monies into the 5 county. I've brought hundreds of thousands of dollars to this county outside of our budget. I've gone and got discretionary fundings. I've gone and I've got Delta Regional Authority monies. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Last week in the PAC row meeting, I just got $100,000 for this county. Resourceful. But you have to understand that that alone is not going to solve our problems. We've got issues that we have to fix, or else we're going to be dipping in your pocket. And I'm a taxpayer. And when I sit and I see this, I don't want you dipping into my pocket as a taxpayer. Fix the problems, then come to me. That's my belief. And I would expect you to have the same belief. Fix the problems, and then we can have a discussion if that comes. And I truly believe that the problems can get fixed. Thank you.
And Commissioner Ford did, Mr. Ford wanted me to send this. He did want to say his daughter is doing great now, and so no matter what, we are grateful for that. Okay, last but not least, stand up there, Matt. You can see what I'm talking about. I'm not going to make him mad at me.
Do it.
Now, I could toss that coin again, but it'd be useless. So
It would be
I'm not
useless
gonna
at
do
this
that.
point. That's right. Plus, I don't know which is head and tails on that coin. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
So we want to give Matt Hilbrick a chance to address the group tonight. He is currently only a candidate in the primary for sheriff, and assuming no one files as an independent or write-in, would be elected as such in November. But we want to give him a chance to speak, and we'll give you 10 minutes to introduce yourself and state some of the things you'd like to see accomplished.
First, I want to say thank you guys for coming out and being very patient tonight. We've sat here for a while, listened to a whole lot of things, and I appreciate y'all being patient. I was asked when I first was going to run for sheriff, are you crazy? Well, I guess tonight that is proven. Here I am at a debate with no opponent, so I guess that's the case. But really tonight I was going to give you a longer speech than I'm going to. They said I had 10 minutes, and I had 10 minutes planned to talk to you about. But Jason Darnold back here threatened me with unlawful imprisonment because basketball is going on. He said, you are the last person to speak, and you're unopposed. Get us out of here. So I am going to follow his advice and keep this brief. I've served this community for 23 years. And it's been an honor to serve the citizens of Marshall County. And I'm very honored that at this point in time, it doesn't look like there's going to be any opposition, and I'll get to serve you guys for at least 4 more years as sheriff. I'm very excited about that. There's a lot of things we'd like to do with the agency to move it forward, to make it, number one, a more professional organization, and number two, we want to tackle this drug problem that we've heard so much about, guys. And it really is a problem. It affects all of our families. And I bet there's not a person in this room who doesn't have a family member that's been affected by it. And that includes my family as well. And so that is something that's important to me. And rather than belabor this thing all night and tell you specifics, I just want to tell you that I'm here tonight to be available to you guys. You know, to show you my face and say I'm here. If you have any questions, you have concerns, if you have problems with the organization, you'd like to express it, please bring it to my attention. I'd be happy to talk to you. I'm not going to make you all sit and listen to my whole spiel because Jason's shaking his head back there. It's time to go. But at any rate, please come up and talk to me if you do have any questions about what I'd like to do as sheriff, or if you just have any concerns. And I'm here for you guys. Signs are back in the back if anybody wants one. We don't necessarily have to have them, but I bought a lot of them before I knew it was unopposed, so please take one. You'll also see at the bottom of it says, a leader who listens. And that is really my message tonight. I'm here to listen to you guys, to hear what you've got to say, and take any of your concerns. So thank you very much.
1 minute and 50 seconds. I want to thank everybody tonight. Now, it's been mentioned, everybody brought supporters, but everybody has been very gracious. Everybody has been very polite. Everybody's been courteous. Yes, we have differences of opinion, but when there is respect, we can move forward and accomplish more together. So let's do this. Let's ask all these gentlemen to stand, and let's give them a hand.